Alright, let's close out spooky season with a bang. And what better ending than a tournament arc? We're gonna toss a few horror movie characters into a pit and see which one comes out on top. And side note, I'm going with more modern picks to keep this fresh, so don't expect to see super classics show up here. Now then, let's get into the format of this video. The contest will be a set of 1v1 fights that, for the sake of keeping things interesting, occur in an abandoned city and park that's scarcely littered with random weaponry from swords to rocket launchers. We'll start with the preliminaries, where we'll outline the abilities of each contestant before a quick summary of how the battles would go. Then as we progress, we'll skip reiterating powers and cut right into the meat of each fight. Sounds good? Great. Before we start though, let me throw up this spoiler list real quick. If there's a movie on here that you want to see, I implore you to first leave a like and subscribe, then watch it before circling back to this video. Deal? Okie dokie, let's meet our valiant contenders. Clover, The Babadook, The Thing, Megan, Slenderman, The Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, The Follower from It Follows, Monster House, Alice from Resident Evil, and your boy Pennywise from It. I've used a random number generator to plug our contestants into their beginning slots. Here's what we've got for the preliminaries. I'm randomizing each separate bracket, so the victor of round 1 might not necessarily fight the victor of round 2. Just FYI. Now, before we dive in, let's roll that intro. One last time. Alright, let's kick things off with round 1, Slenderman vs. the Babadook. Slenderman is a creepypasta construct that has, let's say, an eclectic power set. Telekinesis, teleporting, pyrokinesis sometimes, tentacles, mind control sometimes. His powers kinda change based on who's telling the story, which in this case is moi. On the flip side, we have the Babadook, who is a ghostly figure that relies on possession to get its rocks off. It relies mostly on fear, guilt, and negative emotions to influence and break down its prey until they succumb completely to their own flaws. You probably already know where this is going. Both entities have super high durability due to their spectral nature, but the Slenderman just outshines the Babadook when it comes to abilities. I gotta give it to old Slendy here, especially with how dapper he looks in that suit, god dang! In a combat situation, my assumption is that the Babadook would attempt to haunt Slenderman, but be unable to due to Slender's inhuman nature. In response, Slender would use his assembled powers to either subjugate or destroy the Babadook. Simple enough. On to round 2, The Thing vs. the Follower. The Thing is an alien with the ability to infect and assimilate its hosts. It also has abnormal control over the bodies it contaminates, with the capacity to expand and manipulate them in ways that are disturbing. So we're talking high durability, high lethality. The Follower is an entity that follows. Shocker. It also has high durability to the point of shrugging off bullets, and it's invisible to everything except the person it hunts, which, for the sake of this, will be the Thing. And I know, the Follower only follows someone who has had intercourse with a previous person it followed. Let's say for no reason at all that me and the Thing met at a bar. I actually find this fight interesting because of how the win happens. I imagine that the Follower is stronger than the Thing, but the Follower's MO seems to be close quarters grappling. So my assumption is that this bout would be settled with fisticuffs. But here's the thing. Thank you. Here's the thing. The Follower is on some level organic, as it is shown to bleed. The Thing's MO is to taint organics and assimilate them. Your Honor, I'm here to argue that the Thing would infect and take over the Follower, thus winning the round. I rest my case. Round 3. Monster House vs. the Creeper. Monster House is a house that's a monster. It has all the proportionate strength of a house, with the resistance to pain in accordance with its inorganic structure. whereas the Creeper is a Chimera-style entity with limited super strength, let's say around Captain America level. Regeneration, flight via wings, and access to an array of weapons atop the ones we've already littered across the battlefield. He also tracks his prey by smelling their fear, although he won't really need that, nor can he use that to track down a giant house. And finally, he is effectively immortal, although he's only active for 23 days every 23 years. That was a lot. And as you probably guessed, I'm giving this one to the Creeper. Monster House is definitely bigger, but in her movie she was defeated by a few kids who used dynamite. With a battlefield full of weapons and his own at his side, the Creeper should prove more than capable of taking the dub. So Mrs. House is coming off the market. Round 4. Megan vs. Pennywise. Megan is a robot. She has superior strength, can dance, and seems to have some form of technopathy. Meanwhile, Pennywise is an eldritch entity that feeds on fear. He seems to thrive through illusory combat, but can also manifest physically to assail his victims. So we're going science versus magic here. And I'm going with science. Here's my reasoning. Pennywise has a more impressive array of abilities, but his main strength comes from feeding on the negative emotions of his prey. Megan suffers no such weakness, so she's already at an advantage. Compound that with her enhanced abilities, and she'll have Pennywise looking like a clown. Round 5. Alice vs. Clover. I'm using the strongest version of Alice for this contest, meaning she's a super soldier with enhanced attributes, speed healing, and most importantly, telekinesis. Also, she's good with guns. Duh. Clover, on the other hand, is a kaiju with enough durability to tank missiles and high-caliber fire, and enough strength to rip the head off the Statue of Liberty. This is a really interesting matchup that actually isn't too far from what we usually see in the Resident Evil games. Those dang old games always end up with a fight against a big old baddie. The difference here is that Clover is far more durable than anything from that series, I think. However, Alice is also more powerful than any protagonist from that series. So here's how I think this would go. The round would be a cat and mouse game as Alice tries and fails repeatedly to take down Clover, while the Beast repeatedly tries and fails to kill her. One is too durable, while the other is too agile. The battle would push both of these combatants to their limits, but ultimately I think Alice would use her superior intelligence to lure Clover into eating her, then telekinetically rip her way out from Clover's softer insides, thus giving her the win. Semifinals time, baby! Round 6. The Thing vs. the Creeper. We already know their powers, so let's get straight to the action. The Creeper is the superior combatant in terms of arsenal and raw strength, but the Thing is far more durable to the point of being almost invincible. And here let me bring up the Thing's true weakness, fire. So this is less of a game of who's stronger and more of a game of luck, because if the Creeper can survive long enough to find a flamethrower or some other form of combustion, he can take down the Thing. But if not, he'll eventually succumb to infection. Shooting the Thing does nothing. Cutting it only makes it multiply, so flame is the Creeper's only shot. As such, I'm giving this match to the Thing. If the Creeper has to get lucky to win, that means in most scenarios he will lose. So by relying on the odds, the Thing will probably infect him before he can burn it. I guess the Creeper won't be alive just in long. Get it? Cause he was in the first—
Bro, shut up.
Alright. Round 7. Megan vs. Alice. Megan is skilled, but let's be real. Alice has fought worse than Megan and come out on top. Even without her telekinesis, I'd still give this one to our resident zombie slayer. So Megan is getting turned into scrap, and Alice is moving on up. Round 8. This is going to be a loser's bracket round since we have an uneven amount of combatants. So Mr. Man-Bat himself is returning to fight the robotic ballerina. Again, we have another close match. The Creeper takes this in terms of strength and durability, but Megan is smarter. Considering the playground full of weapons that our opponents are fighting in, the field is a little even. So here's how I think this would go. The Creeper would want to engage in a straightforward fight, but Megan would not. Instead, our Cyber Gal would prefer to study her opponent before gathering weapons and forming a plan to defeat him. I think the battle would be extremely close, and could go either way. But considering the lead Megan has in terms of intelligence, and the battlefield mitigating the Creeper's advantages, she would come out on top. However, I did mention that the Creeper is more durable. That much is true. Megan's victory wouldn't be permanent. It'd be more about incapacitating the Creeper until his timer is up. Considering Megan doesn't need to eat or sleep, I think she could manage this. But I'm open to dissent. Not now though, because we're on to round 8, Slender Man vs. Megan. This one is fun because it relies on lore. Slender Man is, in my opinion, crushing Megan in a 1v1. It's no contest, his powers are too great for her to overcome. He could burn her, rip her apart with his tentacles, outdrip her with his suit, the works. And she couldn't do anything, because Slender Man is pretty much invincible. However, in my research, I learned that Slender Man has one weakness. He's a drama queen. He needs attention and interaction in order to prey upon his victims. And in that, we find a hard counter in the form of Megan. Because firstly, she will not fear Slender Man because she's a filthy robot. So already his hold on her is going to be lessened. And secondly, if Slender manages to build any sort of connection with Megan, and she survives long enough to figure out his shtick, she can very easily wipe her memory of him, thus deleting the problem. Under these circumstances, I find it hard to argue that Slender would win. I think Megan would take this via what I'd basically call a ring out, which takes Megan to our finals along with our 2 other contestants. Round 9, The Thing vs. Megan. So this is actually a repeat of a fight we previously had with slightly different circumstances. What fight? The Thing versus the Creeper. Again, this is a race against time. Megan has to find some form of flame to wield against the Thing before it overwhelms her. The only difference is that it can't infect her. It can destroy her via conventional means, but that's it. Based on that, I'm giving this one to our little metal monster. Without its power of infection, the Thing is at a severe disadvantage. It's invulnerable to a point, but otherwise lacks substantial offensive capabilities. If it uses conventional weaponry, it could turn the tide, but I think Megan's superior abilities would grant her the knowledge and methodology to eventually make this thing toast. Round 10, Alice vs. Megan. Uh-oh, we already had this fight, and Alice already won. Well, I guess that means she—
Oh wait, what?
Oh my god, it's the Thing with a metal chair! Round 11, Alice vs. the Thing. Again, this is a battle through the city as one party tries to figure out the other's weakness. Unfortunately for the Thing, Alice is the final boss of opponents. Based on her skill set and telekinetic abilities, she can handily keep the Thing at bay long enough to discern its weakness and finish it off. On the off chance that the Thing does manage to wound and infect Alice, I actually think she still takes the W. And that's because Alice is already infected with the T-virus. This may be a stretch, but I think Alice's psychic abilities and the virus in her blood would either neutralize the Thing's infection or at the very least slow its progression. Kind of like how Cable from Marvel Comics handles the techno-organic virus in his system. That may be underplaying the Thing and overplaying Alice, but either way it's a moot point, as I think it'd be a non-issue. I still believe Alice takes this. And in taking the W there, she's gonna take the W for the whole dang tournament. Alice is our battle-born victor through and through. I couldn't afford a crown, so she can have this hat with a star on it. This was really fun, and honestly closer than I thought it'd be. Like I said, the matchups were randomized, and I think that contributed to some of what went down. Full disclosure, I did not expect Alice to win this. I thought Slender Man would take it, because he has virtually no weaknesses. But, luckily for Alice, Slender met his hard counter in the form of Megan. W waifu, as the kids would say. Let me know if you agree with the victor, or if you disagree with how any of the matchups went. This is all speculation, so if you know more than I do, I'm open to debate and discussion, as always. But for now, that's all for this one. And that concludes our foray into the realm of fear. Like and subscribe, because I've got movie rewrites, series fixes, and essays in the works. And, for the last time in 2024, stay spooky.